Think lead core line's obsolete? Well, think again. Look at those big, beautiful rainbows. I got these fish while trolling 15 to 20 feet deep, and I didn't use a downrigger. If you don't want the expense or hassle of using a downrigger, pick up one of my yellow lead core rods in the Fish Hunt Shoot Production store and get ready to yell, "Fish on." Just like that, baby. Howdy guys, Kel Kellogg here. It's time for a new installment in our playlist titled Kel Kellogg Unfiltered. And as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to kind of diverge from the supernatural. We're not talking about Bigfoot or UFOs or anything like that this week. We're going to take a break from that this week, and I'm just going to kind of tell a story about when I was out hunting with my dad, and there's clearly a lesson to be learned here. So let me kind of start out by saying, you know, I've been an avid hunter my whole life. My dad took me deer hunting the first time when I was 2.5 years old. I shot my first animal. I shot a squirrel when I was 8. I had a full-blown hunting license when I was 12 and I was deer hunting. Got my first deer, remember it like it was yesterday, November 4, 1979. The same day the Iranians took our hostages in Iran. And that night, there was a young reporter on TV when we got home, 11:30 at night after the news. His name was Ted Koppel, and he started a show called Nightline, if you remember that. And he says, we're going to keep this show on the air every night until these hostages are released. And I don't know how long that show went on. For all I know, it's still on. But anyway, that was the start of the Ted Koppel Nightline show, and a lot of stuff happened. So that's when I got my first deer. I was 12 years old, November 4, 1979. And, you know, I took the hunter safety course and all that. And my dad's always been a big, you know, safety guy around firearms and around tools. He's a carpenter, as I've said here before on the channel. And safety's a big deal when you're playing with tools that can, you know, take off your fingers or whatever. And certainly around firearms that can kill people. So this story takes place, I'm probably 19 or 20 years old. I mean, I'm a grown man. I've shot a bunch of deer. And my dad and I, we built these 2 tree stands out on this point, kind of out looking on a big canyon. And I could see him and he could see me. We're a couple hundred yards away. And all of a sudden, a little string of does with a kind of a medium-sized fork and horn walks right between us. And neither one of us could get a shot because we didn't want to shoot at the other guy. So we were just up in our trees, we're being quiet. And about an hour goes by and we don't see any more deer, and we see no sign of that buck. But they kind of walk back into a brushy area, and we suspect, you know, that they're going back there to bed down. So I climb down from my tree and I go over to my dad's tree and I'm like, hey, let's go back, let's head back to camp, get some coffee, but, you know, let's work through that brush. I think those deer are laying up there. And my dad's like, I think you're right. I think those deer are laying up there. So we kind of got organized and we, you know, talked about where we were going to go, and we knew where camp was. And my dad says, you know, I'm going to walk right at camp. And I said, yeah, me too. So we space out. We're probably 100 yards apart, something like that. And we're thinking if the deer jumps up, maybe one of us will push it to the other guy or whatever. And we're just going to ease along real slow. And we probably got a half a mile walk back to our rigs, back to where we can make some coffee. So we get started, and I don't go very far. I'm just inching along, and I'm very aware. My dad, he should be over here on my left-hand side, so, you know, I'm thinking no problem. And I see a deer. It's a doe, and she's looking right at me. She's close, you know, like, I don't know, 30 yards close. So I get my rifle up, because I'm sure it's the same band of deer. And I get my rifle up, slip the safety off, and got a 7mm Remington Magnum. Same rifle I shoot today. Overkill for these little California deer, but I love the rifle that shoots flat. And I always had aspirations to going, you know, to the Rocky Mountains or whatever and shooting an elk. So, you know, I went for it. I got the rifle when I was 16 years old, and I've shot a bunch of game with it, and I love the rifle. But it's overkill, man, for our small deer. So anyway, I got my rifle up, and I'm looking at the doe through my scope, and all of a sudden I see movement just beside her. And it's the buck. He was laying down. He was behind the brush. And he stands up, and he's looking at me, and he's kind of craning his head out like that. And I'm like, oh, I got you. Get still for a second. Put those crosshairs right on that white patch, right underneath his chin. I mean, he's 30 yards away. Just stone still. I squeeze off the round. Deer are running everywhere, and the buck, he just disappears. He's just gone. I know I got him. I mean, I just nailed him, killed him instantly. So I'm walking over to the deer, and before I can get to the deer, here comes my dad, and my dad is white as a sheet. And I'm like, what are you doing over there? And he's like, dude, that bullet whistled right past me. And he's all, I don't know how close it was to me, but it whistled right past me. You shot right at me. And long story short, I thought my dad was, over to my left, another 100 and some yards. And, we got into that brush, and either I inched over towards him or he inched over towards me or both. And we kind of started to rotate in that brush. But apparently those deer were between my dad and me. And I think they knew where he was. I think that's why they stuck there so hard. They were aware that there were, hunters around them. And that bullet, 154 grain Hornady bullet, probably at that range, going real close to 3,000 feet a second, blasted right through that buck's neck, blasted right through his spine, came out the back of his neck, and went whistling through the woods. And I have no doubt if it had hit my dad, it would have killed him dead as a rock. But I got lucky, and man, they teach that in hunter safety. You got to be sure of your target and what's beyond your target. And I already knew that, but boy, that just drove that rule home. I almost killed my dad. Don't know how much I missed him by. Not much, apparently. All was good after that. He wasn't really upset. We realized, the mistake we had made is we lost track of each other in that brush. And, but I was negligent. I did not follow that keystone rule of shooting at game. Be sure of your target and what's beyond it. I was very sure of my target, but I wasn't sure of what was beyond it. The ridgetop there was pretty flat. There was no, real backstop, at least, in the short range. And my dad was probably, as quick as he popped out, he was only 50, 60 yards from the deer when I shot at it. So he was maybe 90 yards from me total distance. And anyway, we got off cheap that day. We got the deer out, but that's something I've never forgotten. And any of you guys that are hunters out there, no matter how experienced you are, especially if you're a young hunter, take that story to heart. Be certain of your target when you're shooting, and be certain of what's beyond. You're responsible for that bullet, whether you hit the deer or hit the can or hit the paper target or whatever. You're responsible for that bullet for its whole flight until it stops. So, and it's not worth a deer to shoot your dad or shoot anybody or even shoot a vehicle or a house or whatever it is. Man, oh man, you just got to be super, super, super careful, super, super certain. And if something bad happens, you got to man up and take responsibility. And I own that. I think that is the only time that I can think of when I've ever been negligent with a firearm, and almost cost me my dad and cost him his life. And it's just a bad scene. And I actually think if I was younger and maybe less experienced, I would have been more reluctant to fire that shot. But at that point, man, I shot many deer, and I knew I was safe. And I think my confidence got to be overconfidence, and I made a split-second decision. And luckily, it didn't hit my dad, or I'd still be living that split-second decision to this day. So anyway, that's Kel Kellogg Unfiltered for this week. I just wanted to tell a little hunting story here with a lesson buried inside of it. We'll have some exciting content coming up on this thread real soon. I am working on a comprehensive video about the Kennedy assassination. So there's a little bit of a teaser. But I got a couple other UFO concerned stories and a couple more hunting stories too to throw out there. So I'm working on all this stuff. I'm also working on my guide service and my regular trout fishing content. So it's a work in process, but I'm very stoked about the JFK assassination video. I have been doing shooting and filming with my pellet gun. I've been putting together a solid presentation. Folks that know me for lack of a better term, I am an expert on that assassination, and I can absolutely, positively tell you it was a conspiracy. I can prove it was a conspiracy. I can prove it was a conspiracy here in my yard, and I've got a lot of references and notations for that video. I've got reading material if you're interested in knowing what really happened that day in Dallas. I have the I kind of have the study guide where you could check it out for yourself and you can kind of break it down. But anyway, for now, I'm signing off. I'm Kel Kellogg. This is Kel Kellogg Unfiltered, and I will catch you next time right here on Sunday morning with another exciting unfiltered video. For now, I got to get back to what I'm doing. I'm kind of cleaning out the Suburban and getting ready for a week of guiding next week. So I'll see you soon. And remember, if you're looking for trout gear, rods, reels, and more, you know where to go. FishHuntShoot.com. Thanks for all the support, guys, and be careful with those firearms. They could be dangerous. Catch you later.